The only way forward is to quit. But if you can't quit, we must not ignore you. We have to take action.
Tobacco addiction has long been underestimated. As you pointed out, it has been seen as a bad habit, but not as a serious addiction. It is indeed a very tricky addiction, which you have a lot of difficulties to overcome in the end. And that is indicated by the many successless attempts to quit this habit. Because we see that almost 75% of quit smoking attempts are being made by people on their own or with a little bit of support by their surroundings, by their colleagues, families, and friends. But most of them, almost 90%, are not successful. We need to have alternatives. We have to discover alternatives because we cannot simply say quit or die earlier. And that was the alternative until now, until the new products came on the market. We have to substitute the smoking habit haptically in order to give a real alternative apart from plaster or nicotine spray or nicotine chewing gum, which is not being taken in that many cases. Because it does not have any similarity to smoking. E-products or vaping products do have the similarity, and in so far they might be a good, and they are definitely a good alternative.
It turned out that starting to use e-cigarettes daily in the midpoint increased the likelihood to drop cigarettes altogether 8-fold for the third time point. So. At some point, these people were using cigarettes and e-cigarettes probably, together. But it was a step that helped them to quit altogether.
The harms of nicotine are relatively few. The harms of the smoke are absolutely enormous, be it vascular disease, cardiovascular disease, respiratory disease, every disease. So then you look at vaping, and you look at the potential of harmful constituents, carcinogens that you take in through vaping, and it's all very, very small. Well, I don't think you'll run into lung cancer by vaping. So the problems with vaping are partly ones which have come from the United States, where the vaping, you also can smoke vape cannabis oil, and with the vitamin E acetate, there was a horror story. But if you look at the UK evidence on toxicity of vaping, and we have a yellow card system, it's very, very few, and virtually none is proven. If you look at cancer, I think your cancer risk from vaping is going to be tiny. I mean, you've got more risk by living in London. I'm absolutely convinced, and I think you would be convinced by the science, that the harms are much smaller. It isn't no risk, there is less risk than combustible cigarettes.
The smoking rates in youth is the lowest it has ever been.
Right.
I think it's 6 to 8%, depending on the surveys. So smoking is not cool anymore, and young people are not picking up e-cigarettes or heated tobacco products either, at a very low rate. So that looks very good, so the precautionary principle is working. However, England and other countries are showing us that you can do both. You can try to help smokers by adding harm reduction to the mix of tools against smoking without dropping any precautionary principle. And in Germany, I think there is a sense that one excludes the other, and that is not the case.
We have harm reduction policies in many addictions. We have it in heroin addiction, for instance. We have it in cannabis addiction or any other addiction. We offer, for instance, clean syringes and needles for heroin addicts. We could have said, no, stop taking heroin. Everybody knows that this is not to be done from one day to the other. It's a long process, and that's the same is true for tobacco addiction. It takes a long time, several attempts, until the point has come where people are persuaded by themselves or by others to stop.